This is, I don't know, I got this whole new thing now where I'm just kind of like in chill mode. And it's been a long day. I actually got up this morning about five something, got on the plane, flew up to, I'm still in Accra in Ghana, flew up to Kumasi, which is in central Ghana. And um, so I took that and as a day trip and wanted to make sure that I got in as much as I could. As a matter of fact, if you're watching right now, be sure to share. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. And feel free to comment and all that good stuff. I'm going to really break down some stuff tonight. And, this is one of the reasons why I'm in Africa so much. And one of the reasons why I am bringing people to Africa. This year, we have, in the middle of the pandemic, we have close to 60 people already signed up to come to Africa because they know and they know now is the time to do it. So that's just right. This juncture right now, and this is really you have 6 more months left in the year. So with that said, the went to Kumasi, and that's central. That's the like the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom, and one of the things I realized is that if you we can talk a good game, but when it really comes time to do some things, you find out the players and the pretenders. And I understood once I got into this space, either I was going to be about it or I was going to be a pretender. And so, when you come and you have people coming and you want people to trust and feel comfortable with what you're doing, any good leader goes and checks out what's going on. Even if you've done it before, you go back and you do it again and you do it again. And but the beautiful part about this is that in all of what's happening, I'm able to establish all these relationships. And so I'm establishing relationships with the people on the ground here in Ghana and in Sierra Leone and in South Africa. Shout out to my man Tabang. I know you check it out. As a matter of fact, I told Tabang we're going to bring him to Ghana and he's in South Africa. And he did such a great job. And when we were getting ready to leave, he was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to see you again. And I was like, don't worry, we'll see you again. Don't worry. But my man, Philip, he's here in Ghana. And so I told him, I said, as soon as we get things rolling, I said, I want to take you over to Tanzania. I want you to go down to South Africa. I want you to see the continent. And because there's not a lot of intercontinental travel, or there is, but there's not to the extent that it should be and could be. So anyway, in doing that, I recognize that I need to come put my feet on the ground, do what I need to do, handle my business, and kind of chart the path. So when people come, whether it's 2021, 22, 23, whenever it is, the groundwork would have been laid and the due diligence would have been done. All right, so now the next thing I want to talk about, which is I think the real crux of what I want to share tonight, is I don't know if you all saw the video. I saw it on Instagram where the Chinese man went off on the African man. I think it was in Sierra Leone. I put the link below so you can click the link to see the actual footage. So he went off on him, and him going off on him, it turned into a fight. And the man, Chinese man came with the stick about to beat him and stuff, and it just got real crazy. But when you're in Africa, and not just Africa, but when you go to other parts of the world, you begin to see kind of like an attitude, and you see Chinese dominance, and you begin to see like what's up with this. And so in being here, I was in Zanzibar, I saw it. I saw it in Ethiopia. I saw it in Zanzibar and Tanzania are same country, but I saw it in mainland Tanzania. I've seen it in Ghana. I saw it in Sierra Leone. Everywhere I've been, I've seen this Chinese influence. And I think what people need to understand, and this is why it's so important to come see for yourself, because when you see for yourself, then you're able to put together a more accurate picture. And this is how the game is played. And this is what I want to share with you. And one of the reasons why I've taught financial literacy now for 20 some odd years. And when I started, it was more or less, budget well, save for retirement and get insurance, which um, which is very those are very important, but it's deeper. And so when it comes to the Chinese, and not just the Chinese, but America and other countries, the way that this works, and I hope you hear what I'm saying very clearly, the way that this works is that China understands the principles. And the principle is, if you are a lender, you control the show. And if you are a producer, you control the show. So if you think about any of the best movie stars, or it's the executive producer. It's the name, what's his name? Dick Wolf, with the whole SVU series. He's the executive producer. The people who act in the shows, unless you're Mariska Hargitay or somebody like that, they can get rid of you and put you in whatever it is. But when you're the producer, you can own Wednesday night. You can own Thursday night. You can own another network. And that's the thing that a lot of people fail to realize, is that China, they are producers. And so in them being producers, they understand it's a system. If I can leverage, if I can put you in debt, I own you. And if I can produce and cause you to consume what I produce, I own you. And so the way that China does this is they go into places like Africa and South, wherever it is, South America, Central America, wherever they can get in, and they go take the natural resources, and then they go produce from the natural resources. So they'll come in Africa, get the cocoa, take it back to China, make the chocolate, sell it back to Africa for, a $2 chocolate bar, but they paid nothing, basically nothing for the cocoa. And so when you begin to understand the Chinese strategy, it's really brilliant, actually. So I although I don't like that approach so much, but when you really begin to dive into it, it's actually a pretty brilliant strategy. If you put the people in debt, Kenya, I can go on and on and on. And somebody has to sign up for the debt, though. And then that's when it gets deeper into the World Bank, into the IMF, and when they force countries to go into debt. And if you don't go into debt, then they kill the presidents. It starts going to a different level that most people don't even think on that level, because in America, we have been trained to be consumers. We're not trained to be, we have been trained to be laborers and consumers. So we work, and then we consume everything that we work for. So we don't think about investing as much from a training standpoint, and we consume. So China knows this. So the next thing about China being able to produce all of this cheap stuff, you ask yourself, how is it that China can produce everything so cheap? What is it that China is doing that they can produce the cheapest stuff? And let me tell you how cheap this stuff is. You can go to the most impoverished country in the world. If you go to somewhere in Central America or South America or Central African Republic or whatever, in those places, those street vendors, the street vendors that are selling the little items, the majority of the stuff comes from China. So even in Africa, with you see street vendors are all over the place. The majority of the stuff on the continent comes from Africa. Comes from China. And so meaning the natural resource will come from places like Africa. If it'll go back to China, they'll process it in their plant, and then they'll resell it to the rest of the world. But think about how cheap it must be if somebody in Africa or in Central America or India, wherever, some of the most impoverished places, if they can afford it, how cheap must it be to produce it? How does China now go and produce all of this cheap stuff? Well, people think that slavery's over. People think that slavery is done. It's estimated that 26 million people worldwide in some form of slavery, whether it's child slavery, whether it's human trafficking, whether it's labor slavery. And so as China begins to, of course, nobody's going to admit who's going to go find out, because everybody benefits from this. Everybody benefits from that form of slavery. So sweatshops, you can call it however you want to repackage it and call it whatever you want to call it. Everybody benefits from it. And it's not just China, because how does China get access to the land in different parts of the world? They have to get permission to do this. So you have some chiefs in some different tribes, whether it's in Africa or in indigenous areas in South America, whatever, they're selling the land dirt cheap. And then on top of that, what they're doing is they're using the labor, the children, those who don't know any better, to dig for the gold and do all these other things, and exploiting them, and then working in concert with the Chinese and whoever, the Koreans or whoever else, the Americans, and coming in and creating this nonsense. And this is what's been happening for ages. And so then what happens is when you're dealing with debt, you're dealing with all this cheap stuff, then what it does, it creates poverty. And so when someone is impoverished, if you take a group of people and they're impoverished, a lot of times it'll break their will because they don't know how to come out of that situation. So the little bit that they make, they have to now go spend in order to survive. But if I keep it cheap enough for you just to be able to survive, now you're not going to be in a position, you're always going to be on that wheel trying to figure out, what can I do? How can I make this thing happen? How can I make this thing happen? What can I do to get ahead? And that's where a lot of people are living. So here's where it gets tricky with America. And this is why I believe it's so important for people who are part of the African diaspora to really understand what's happening. And I didn't understand this until I came and I spent time here among the people and really listened and paid attention. So tonight, on my way back from the airport, I was talking to Paul. He was the driver, and we were talking about different systems. And I told him, I said, the wealth that we enjoy in America is at the expense of you. And I said, because I said, look at the tires on that car. I said, a lot of the rubber that makes the tires on the cars in America comes from Liberia and places like Liberia. I said, if we paid Liberia what it is owed for the value of that rubber, now you take 100 tire and it's now going to cost you $500. I said, I don't know. I said, there are people squealing about $100 tire in America. It's too expensive. I said, but then if you pay the people what they should be paid, then the price is going to, it's probably quadruple or quintuple or whatever. But we don't think like that. So then what happens? And this is why I said this is so important. This is why we got to get our head out of the sand. So then in our mind, and this is what a lot of people go through. I've had so many people tell me, my family, I'm just coming to Africa. I can't tell my family because they got something to say. My family got something to say. And they're going, oh, they're negative. Why are you going to that third world countries or whatever? Or they're really family, really ignorant. And they say, why are you going to Africa, that third world country? So a lot of people like going on the low because the family's so crazy. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going this in my mind, and I'm saying to myself, if we don't begin, because we're all fighting the same battle. I said, if we don't begin to educate ourselves, it's like we are the ones who say, we got it better, and we do all of it. We got to stand up for the people, and Black Lives Matter and all of that. But yet we are the ones who benefit the most from the exploitation of all of these millions of Black and brown lives all over the world. And we are not willing to give up our comforts in order for their benefit. So then what we do is they'll come on late night TV with the little jive aid program with UNICEF and all of that foolishness. And for 33 cents a day, you can help a child in Uganda. And so now some programs really, have good intentions. So I don't want to blanket all of them, but a lot of them are just straight garbage, because what they'll do is they'll take 70% of that money, 70% of that dollar goes towards administrative costs. So you have these countries that come in, take the natural resources, don't pay the people what they're worth, use them up. If you see, you'll see it. That's what I'm saying. When you see it with your own eyes, you're like, something's not right. So use up their talent, use up their skill, do it in America too. So they use it up and then don't pay it. But then, so you get them that way. And then you come back around on the back end and get them with these crazy aid programs and use that to tap into the sympathies or the laziness of the people who are like, well, I'll give you 33 cents a day, but I ain't going over there to see you. I don't, no, that's too much for me. I'm gonna go down here to what's it, Cabo or whatever. I'm going down there because that's sexy enough for me. But I'll send my 33 cents, but I dare not go over there to Ethiopia with all of those sick children. I dare not do that. I'll give my money though, and that's a mentality that a lot of people have, and it's really unfortunate because sometimes we can't see. We're so blinded by it that we can't even see that in many cases we're in the same situation, and we're going through the same things, and we're fighting for the same. It's. I think when you are among the people and you realize you fight the same fight. So I'm looking at this, and because I know the one question is, okay, so what do we do about it? Well, the first thing, and this is what I've been telling people for years, first thing that we have to do is really educate ourselves to the game. The game is not go to school, get a good job, and it's going to be all good. That's not the game. The game is understanding the global systems that you're in. And so when you see me coming over here, it's because I understand the game. I'm on the ground. I see the Chinese over here. And I mean, I was standing in line the other day, and the Chinese right behind me, just doing. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'm here too." I said, "I'm gonna tap into some of my inner Nigerian." That's how this thing is about to go down. And so we don't have to be nasty. Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. But I'm gonna be here too, and I'm gonna sound the alarm, and I'm gonna educate, and I'm gonna let people know, so they can see and they can make a determination. And especially the young people, here the people is resonating with Gen Xers, baby boomers. And for some reason, like the Gen Zs are starting to get a little twinge of it, and you got some millennials that are into it too. But people who are saying that they don't want to be a part of the peanut gallery, and they don't want to do just a conventional way, and they're like, listen, I want to go and make different investments, and I want to be able to put my imprint on the continent and to be able to help people in a legitimate way, in a sustainable way, and in a way that's going to last. And so what's interesting is that when I have these same conversations with people who are native to wherever I go. I don't care where it is, whatever country I'm having a conversation. And so some of them I'm like business partners with. And I said, so what you gonna charge me for such a? They said, I can't charge you, Jay. I said, hold on. I said, hold. I had two people today say, I can't charge you. I can't. I'm like, no, that's the problem. Y'all being too nice. Y'all, you better charge me something. You better charge me. And I said, okay, well, you got to charge me something because otherwise, I recognize you appreciate the kindness being that. I said, but you got to get out of that. That. I'll give you a good example. This is how I realized I became soft. Is how they made us soft in America. So I'm being all hospitable and courteous, and yes, please step in front. Yes, no problem. You can go first. And so I'm standing in line to get my plane ticket, and I watch this dude. I'm standing in line, I step back a little bit to give people some privacy. And a dude stepped in front of me. So, at first I'm like, did this dude just punk me and step in front of me? So now I'm fighting all type of emotions. Stuff. I said, did he really just step in front of me? I said, I might have been too far back. You know how you're trying to rationalize it in your mind? I said, wow. I said, okay. So I kept finding myself in situations where, as I'm being courteous, people are taking advantage of it. And I think what hit me, I said, I think my inner Nigerian kicked in. And I said, oh, heck no. And so when we were on the plane getting ready to get off, I'm watching dude just watch. So I took my shoulder and I stepped in there. I said, okay. I said, I see how I have to play this game. I said, I get it now. So now I'm more aggressive. My point is that if we're passive, people will run over us. And I'm just talking about people in general. If you are aggressive, people will respect you. They might not like you, but they'll at least respect that you're aggressive. And you don't have to be nasty. You don't have to be any of that. And that's why I got to tell our young people, we're too nice, we're too, too accommodating. And people can sense that. They can sense when you've been groomed to be accommodating. And that's what happened in much of our culture. Well, be courteous and let the other person go first, and don't ruffle any feathers and all of that. And that's why a lot of us broke right now. That's why a lot of us want to do things we can't do it because we've been too courteous. We've allowed people to get into our bank accounts because we're being too courteous. And I'm not talking about being generous. I'm talking about being too courteous and being too accommodating. And people who are aggressive can sense people like that and will run with your money and run with your resources and leave you with none, and you can't call them for any of it. And so these are things that you begin to see. That's why, like, one of the things I'm excited about doing is addressing that here on the continent, wherever I'm afforded the opportunity to say, listen, you have the resources, and so don't sell your resources for cheap. I know you might be hungry, but it might be better for you to go a couple more days and hold on than to sell that thing too cheap, or whatever it is, or give it up too cheap, whatever the whole deal is. And so one step in this process is the education. Another step is being able to see it, be in this space. So many people who've known me over the years, they're like, "Wow, you've really changed a lot." Because before I was, what's the word? Too nice, and not that I'm mean now, but I just don't have time for games. And so it's like, nah, I'm not playing those games. But people don't even call me with foolishness. I don't even get foolish phone calls anymore because people can see I'm focused. So when you're focused, people don't. I mean, even if they do try to hit you with something, they know, well, he probably is not going to respond to this. Like, I don't get a bunch of scam people. Yeah, at first when I started doing it, it was like, yeah, we got land over here in Senegal for you. We got this over here. We got that. I'm good. I'm good. I'll work it out the way in the time it needs to work out. So, um, what I want to encourage everybody with is, when it comes to our consumption, when it comes to our debt load, when it comes to our real world education, when it comes to us really understanding all of this, and what you see me doing is creating visuals, charting the course, showing people. And it's not just coming over here and getting some kente cloth and a dashiki and going home. It's like, yo, really pay attention to what's happening out here. Really pay attention to what's going on. Look around you and ask yourself, when you see something, why is it like this, or why is it like that? And now I don't even see poverty the same way, because we've even been conditioned to say, well, okay, that's poverty. But 50 years ago, let's go back to say 60 years ago, people were living, they had outhouses, they had, some places didn't have running water. And this is in America. I'm not talking about Africa. I'm talking about America. I'm talking about in major cities. If you go back 100 years, most people didn't have running water. But see, in our minds, we're thinking those are all symbols of prosperity. And some people, I mean, it is in a sense, but I'm just saying the way that we think in general is really to our detriment. And at that point, we don't become problem solvers, we become the problem. And I said, I don't want to be the problem. I want to be the person who comes in, listens to what the people say they need, and say, hey, how can I assist with that, instead of me trying to come in and change them. And that's another thing I see going on. I see a lot of, like, culture changing, and I see a lot of people trying to change the way people behave to fit their model. And in doing that, what it does is, that's another way you can extract and exploit and take advantage of culture, if you can get in and somehow influence people. So I see here are the dominant ways that happens. Obviously, economics, education is another one, religion is another one, and culture. And normally culture is influenced by all of those. And that's what you see now, because I can see different areas and I can see different things. Like today I was riding down the street and I saw about like 7 dudes they had the loudest speakers, and they had the little sound system, and I guess they was preachers. I guess that's what was happening. I don't know. I didn't hear what they were saying. It was interesting to see. And they had their microphones. And my thing is, if you're going to come with it, come correct. Don't come with the speaker so loud that you just distort it. But anyway, so I'm looking. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody was just out there bottom. I said, is this really? I'm just asking the question, so I don't know, and I didn't form a judgment. I said, is this authentic or is this trained behavior? I said, is this authentic or is it trained behavior? Or is it authentically trained behavior? But I was like, I'm looking at culture and I'm saying, and it seemed like there was 3 preachers, I guess. And it just kind of had that vibe to it. And I said, okay, I'm going and I'm looking at all the vendors. And as I'm looking at the vendors, I see all of the cheap Chinese stuff. And I'm looking at the people and I'm thinking to myself, what has colonization done to create this type of environment where, for me looking, just me observing, it looked like confusion. Now, when I say confusion, meaning sometimes confusion can be, people can be doing something and it's not, they don't think it's confusion. But it just had a, when I say this, mean it had a look of confusion. And so I said, wow, I said, how is it that riding around in these areas where all of these brown people, and I keep coming back to this because I'm still trying to figure it out. I guess everybody telling me I need to do a documentary, but I'm still trying to figure this out. How is it I come to this place with all these brown people and you got this phony white Jesus image every daggone place you go? It is maddening. It is the most, and then it's not the same image. It's like one dude looked completely different than the other dude. And I'm saying, so I asked one dude, I said, well, who is that? He said, oh, that's Jesus Christ. I said, well, who's that dude over there? Oh, that's Jesus Christ. And I'm like, to myself, I'm like, but that's not, well. So anyway, what I'm saying to us, and I'm saying to everybody, is that when you see things, it challenges you to research, it challenges you to grow, it challenges you to understand, it challenges you to really assess just a whole lot. But the beautiful part of it is that as you begin to do that, what it does is you now are asking questions that you probably would not have asked before. You probably would not have asked questions about economics and understanding, like, well, how cheap must the stuff be being coming from China if their currency is 5.6 times less than this currency? How cheap must it be coming from China in order for that? And they're selling the same thing in this country for 20 times more. What's going on here? See, that's what I'm saying. Those types of questions. Though the question, like, well, how is it that this image got in here with all these brown people? Because that is not indigenous to this area. How is it that why is there highway? And I got some flack last time I mentioned this, but I got to go there again. Why is there a highway in Ghana called George W. Bush Highway? And because the president was friends with George W. Bush and he gave the money in order for us to build the highway. And so that was the result. That theme kept coming back at me, kept coming back. I said, well, I got a little hood. I've always had hood in me. So my thoughts, so sometimes I won't articulate what I'm thinking in my mind, but then the hood thought will come and be like, what? So the thought came when they said that. I said, that sounds like rehearsed garbage that somebody's told you to say, that they were friends and this is an honor of paying honor to Bush. And I'm thinking to myself, If you gave Ghana the money that you get for the gold, then they would have built highways paved with gold. They wouldn't need no aid, But because of the conditioning of how people have been trained, they say, well, that's what they say. Well, he was a friend and they gave us money. It's like, and that's what I'm saying. That recurring theme of they gave us money. They gave us money. It's America too, though. You go to certain parts of America, they won't do it with Bush, but they'll do it with the Democratic Party. And they'll say, well, they gave us money. They gave us money. And so we got to, so it's that type of thing when you begin to start looking at it. You say, where does this thought process come from that has this global, it's almost like worshiping your oppressor or worshiping or honoring your oppressor or the person who's stealing from you. The person, this is another example of it. Somebody will say, oh man, that place is wealthy. I want to go to America. I want to go to the UK. If you're from a Francophone country, I want to go to France. I want to go to these places because they have so many nice things. That, again, when you spend time, I'm telling you, when you spend time in Africa and in different places, when you stop, you say, wait, that's the equivalent. This is how crazy it sounds when you see it from the other side. That's the equivalent of going to the thief's house, and the thief has the crib laid out. Everything you ever wanted in the thief's house. Man, I'm trying to go back over to the thief's house. But the thief stole from you and everybody in the neighborhood, stole the flat screen from down around the corner, got your sectional, got your drawers and everything. You're not even wearing drawers no more because they stole your drawers. And I want to be like the thief. And that's exactly what happens when I hear people say, I want to be like America. I want to be like the UK. I want to be like France. And I want to be like all these different places. And then what they convince you of is that you don't have anything. So I remember this preacher, he used to always say, if I could only get a white man, if I could only get a white man to fund what I'm doing, if I could only find a white man. And I remember hearing that so long, it was like, well, hey, I guess the white man is who I need to be looking for to do what I got to do. But in his mind, he didn't believe he had it in him to do what he was supposed to do. So he was praying for the white man to come. Instead of saying, well, can I get the wisdom to be able to do what I need to do? And it just kind of just stuck with me. Just like, can I get a white man? I found my white man. I found my white man. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, but you have the talent and the skill. You have it already. What do you mean? That's one thing to pray for the resource. I get that. Pray for the resource. But why do the resources have to come through that particular person? Why couldn't you pray for the black man to have it? Because in his mind, the black man isn't going to have it. If the black man didn't have it, surely the African man didn't have it. And so it's like those types of words and those types of subtleties, when you start taking those tentacles out of your mind and understanding that I'm just as capable as a person, I don't need anybody to approve what I'm doing. I can produce just like the next person. That's why I produce my own children's books. I'm not going, well, could y'all please give me permission to write my children's books in my animated series? That's why I wrote my own jingle to my children's book series. That's why. If the Chinese can do it, I can do it. If the next person can do it, then I can do it. And that's what I hope to encourage. When people say, well, I can't go, I can't do this because so-and-so, because of that person. When it was time for me to come to Africa, I wasn't consulting and asking permission from anyone. They'll tell you, in my house, I was like, well, I'm gone. So, hey, y'all, I'm gone. I'm doing what I got to do. Y'all, is it okay if I go? I don't know if I got to go. Now, I'm not telling somebody else to do like what I did. My purpose was something completely different. But it's that stuff that it's these little tentacles that get in there that cause us to become hesitant, where the Chinese aren't hesitant. The Chinese are going to a country and say, we're going to buy up all this land. We scared to even get on a plane to come to Africa. We scared. That's that. I was like, oh, is it safe over there? Chinese over here buying everything. Oh, is it safe? And then we get mad and upset because somebody fired us from the job. See, they didn't let me go. They done fired me and everything. And the Chinese going and getting all the resources and not even putting it back into the people. You can come get the resources, invest it back into the people, and bridge the gap and shut the foolishness down. But again, because we spend so much time in our head emotionally, or we're spending so much time consuming, because that's the other thing. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but you can look at us and see that we consume in America. I mean, I'm saying that as nicely as I know how to say it. Just look at us and you can see we consume. We consume plenty. Even the portions here, like I went to get some almond milk. In America, you get a big old half gallon of almond milk. Here, you get like a quart. Like it's everything. It seems like it's in smaller portions here. In America, like fatten up them Americans because they get them because they're going to consume. They're going to keep whether it's they're going to consume food, they're going to consume items, they're going to consume television, they're going to consume every. You just give it to them Americans, and especially them black ones. You give it to the black ones because they're going to be trying to medicate unresolved traumas. So if you give them sugar and food, they'll medicate it that way. Give them some drugs, give them some other stuff, and the black ones will self-destruct. Uh, Make sure that they don't go get the therapy that they need and get the help they need because I mean it's so many different layers of exploitation that people try to do, and I'm just telling you from I've heard people say this stuff, and they don't say it in a way. They're like, well, Jay, I can tell you this because you understand economics. So this is what we do. We put this in the food. We make sure we keep the people addicted to the sugar. We make sure we keep the people doing this. And so then if you get them psychologically flowing a particular way, and then they need to get the endorphins going. And so we put them in this setting and we put them in that setting. And so by the time it's all said and done, that's how we get into their pockets because they need to keep a particular high going. So either we get them addicted to food and get them addicted to sugar, we get them to some other addicted to some other emotional release, and we keep them right there. And they're always hoping and wishing to break out of it, or they're always living vicariously through someone else because they don't believe they can do it themselves. They'll watch someone else do it, but they won't believe that they can do it themselves. And that's exactly this. That's how it works. And that's how people make millions of dollars because people live vicariously through them because they don't believe that they can do it themselves. They think in terms of being a grasshopper. It's too big. It's just too big. I can't do that. That's not me. And I understood I was in an environment where that's what people did. That's how they talk. I grew up in an environment where people didn't do big things. People weren't traveling. They were stuck on their little road. But yet, I saw other friends of mine from other ethnic groups, and they traveled, and it was like nothing. It was oh, we gone, we doing our thing, we living our life. But from people from where I came from, even in the South, and even when I grew up in D.C., we stayed on our block pretty much, or we either went between the country and the block. But when you talked about going to other places, or I would go to school with my friends, and they were so proud to I'm Irish and I'm going to Ireland to see. Um, I'm going to wherever but I never heard my any friends. As a matter of fact, the African friends that I grew up around, they were trying to disassociate themselves with being African. So they got the American. They're like, yeah, well, yeah, I'm from there, but but I'm becoming American. That's a bit more acceptable. And but the wealth, and this is I'm gonna leave it at this tonight. But the wealth is in Africa. Africa's not poor, y'all. And I don't care. You can look on TV and all that. And for somebody who's like completely like tone deaf visually, blind, in other words, if you can't see the wealth in Africa from the people to the natural resources, then colonization has done its masterful, unfortunate work. But when you come and you see the people, and I always go bring it back to the people. These people are brilliant. They've gone through the conditioning, like what we've gone through. But underneath that, when you watch them flow in their space, brilliance. Because they can do things those of us who've been softened up by luxury can't do. And how they survive and how they maneuver, I just sit there in awe watching them, like, wow. And I tell them, I said, see what they did to me? See, I can't walk on the rocks, and I can't walk barefoot because of my little soft feet and all this, that, and the other, and all of that. But to watch them is like, it's amazing. But even with that, you see how like the soil is rich. They get the rain. You see the mangoes growing on the tree. We were in Sierra Leone. They were just grabbing mangoes off the tree and eating them. The pineapples growing, the coconuts. So if you need something to drink, you got a coconut, you got your mangoes right there, you got your pineapples right there, you got your plantains, you got your bananas. You have all of this right there. And you just, it's like nobody's going to eat. They're not going to go hungry here because all you need is some seeds and you can grow and you can make it happen. So all of that to say, I just wanted to drop that little bit of knowledge today. And I want to encourage everybody to see this plate, see this wherever you go on the continent, to see it for yourself. And don't get caught up in the emotion of the foolishness, because tribalism is real. So let me not even try to paint the picture. Tribalism is real. Some of the most silly things that I've seen people arguing is over tribes. I'm saying that, that's when the European in me kicked in. I was like, oh, I see y'all sitting over there talking dumb stuff. I can come over here and wreck shop because y'all are arguing over tribes. I can come in here and buy this whole place up. That's because people, so you see that side of it too. Like, why don't y'all just chill on the dumb stuff? I mean, y'all, hey, you don't like each other and you did this and you did that. Like, yo, them Europeans, them French and the British couldn't stand each other. Could not stand each other. The Germans and the Polish and the Dutch and the British would fight to the death. I mean, and fight until you couldn't fight no more. Would fight the 100 Years' War between British and the French. But somehow, they knew when it came time to whatever it is they needed to do to conquer Africa or whatever, they sat down in Berlin in 1884 and 1885, and they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to carve out this continent, and we're going to pick the borders that we want, and we're going to sit down and work this out together. And so that's why you have the countries that you have, because they sat down as much as they couldn't stand each other and worked it out. And they said, it is what it is. So that's why you have the Francophone French West Africa with all of the French-speaking countries, and you have like 5 English speakers in West Africa: Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and the Gambia. So somebody wanted to make sure I understood the Gambia was in there too. And but everything else is either French or then you have Portuguese. I think Guinea-Bissau. I think Guinea-Bissau is Portuguese, and then Angola is Portuguese, and then Mozambique and Sao Tome, I believe. Those are the 4 Portuguese-speaking countries. And then Eritrea, Italian, and then you have some of the indigenous languages. A lot of East Africa is English. Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, they have a strong English. And of course, down South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, and what else is down that way? Zambia, I believe. They have the English, and then Madagascar French, Mauritius French, a lot of French as you coming up. You have Cameroon, which has a combination of French and English, Gabon, Central African Republic, Niger French. So anyway, I can go on and on and on, but Senegal French, Guinea French, Cote d'Ivoire French, Benin, Togo French, Mali, Burkina Faso French, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia French. I mean, you can kind of run down this whole thing. But when you start understanding this and realizing that as much as they didn't stand each other, they figured out a way to work together. So when we can start seeing and putting some of this tribalism to the side and stop arguing over which tribe is better than other, and anytime somebody starts arguing over which country is the better, which whenever I hear like someone from Africa arguing over which country is better than the other country, it's like it's colonized, because those countries didn't even exist 200 years ago to even argue over. Like Nigeria didn't exist as a country before 1885. It was a region and you had tribes in there. Ghana was not Ghana. Ghana, the great Ghana Empire, was over a little bit more, along with Songhai. Sierra Leone did not exist as a country 200 years ago. None of the countries did. And so when people argue, well, I'm a Jamaican and I'm a Haitian and all of that, and they're going back and forth, and do you all understand that those are colonized terms? That somebody like put labels? That's to argue over that is a play out of colonizer's book, because that's what the colonizer would do. Would pit Ghana against Ivory, Haiti against Jamaica, where everybody was distracted fighting each other, and they would go and get the natural resources, take everything out. Take it out and leave the people with nothing. They would install corrupt governments, pay them enough because they had the gold, they had the resources, and they understood that if I could pay these people, if I could install these puppet governments, and that's one of the reasons why, and I'm trying to give a balance to this, because some people are like victimized and all of that. They're people complicit in this whole thing, and so whoever has the guns and the bombs, that's who has the wealth. When I say that, meaning from that standpoint, I need, and you can't do anything about it. Then, and that's what you see happening. So when I hear people arguing over countries and them South Africans don't like, because they got a big thing down in South Africa with the South Africans and the Nigerians, and that's a big old thing down in South Africa, and you just got stuff all over the place. And I'm saying to myself, if because I'm gonna think like colonizer, you gotta shift roles. If I'm China, okay, I would pay somebody to keep fighting. Look, let me come over here, and I would stir the pot so I could keep myself in check, because somebody else was doing it. They do it with gangs in America. So I'm gonna leave it at this tonight. That's what I'm excited. Tomorrow we have the tour, the June tour starting tomorrow. People investing in themselves, learning for themselves, not getting caught up in listening. They had to block out the naysayers. They had to block out the peanut gallery. They had to block out the people who didn't want them to come. They had to block them out, and they're going to be able to see some things for themselves. I was telling a friend of mine, I said, there's a lot that I'm going to do on the continent. I said, I don't need to do this for me. I said, but as a part of my personal legacy, I know that there's a deposit that I need to leave on this continent to be able to really like smack in the face a lot of this foolishness that has occurred. I'm one person. I'm just one person. But nevertheless, it starts to get one another person. And I know other people out here who are standing up to this nonsense, and they recognize the importance. Because some people are, well, what does it matter? I'm in America or whatever. And I'm saying that them same people trying to run up out of America once they started feeling the pressure and they want to run. And this is I promise it's the last thing I want to say. Please don't leave America and come to Africa and disrespect these people. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. There are 2 times I've been so ashamed to be to have been a Black American. It is when I was around us and we went in on those who were native to the continent. It was so embarrassing. And one place it happened in America, it recently happened. And y'all can tell this, y'all can share this with the people too. As a matter of fact, Delta Airlines in JFK, these 2 sisters, They work for Delta Airlines, and they're at the whatever flight that comes into Accra. These sisters were the nastiest. They can, and they were yelling. And of course, it was obvious that everybody getting on the plane was either African or of African descent. They came out there, weaved up, and talked so, it was so bad. It was so ghetto. It was so trifling. Y'all need to stand, get in that line. Y'all need to get over that. Y'all not getting on this plane until, I'm like, what? It was so embarrassing. And so the people would chill. The people who were majority African, they would chill. You got this nonsense, this ghetto stuff coming out. And so what made me say something about this is because in this Delta Airlines, JFK, whatever that flight is, coming to Accra, is because somebody else on another flight said, wow, them sisters were rough up in JFK. I said, now, and I'm not going to blame that on New York. I'm not going to put it on New York. I'm going to put that on something else. And then I've seen how we go in on them when we're here, and how we look at them, and how we create our own little communities. And we say, we're going to carve out our little communities, and we don't want them to be a part of it. And then what we do is we put the okie doke and we say, well, it's our culture. It's our culture. You know, it's culturally. And it's really what it is that you're doing is colonized. You're doing the same thing that they did to you in America when they put you in Bankhead, but you couldn't go to Alpharetta. When they put you in Suitland and you couldn't go to Potomac. When they put you in Clubhouse and you couldn't go to downtown Charleston. And I could go on and on and on different areas, but yet you're gonna go to these people's country and want to carve out your little space, put up walls, and say, "No, y'all can't come in here. We're gonna price you out to make sure you can't get in here." And there's no way I will come to any African country and say that I'm going to come to their land and say they can't be a part of what I'm doing. There's absolutely no way. And if that's your mindset, please don't even come. Please stay right there. Go in Trump's backyard. Sit up in Trump's backyard and stay there with him, because that is the same mindset. And so when it comes time, and this is my commitment to my African brothers and sisters, that what you will not get from me as someone who they would consider an African American is me coming here trying to change you or disrespect your culture. I recognize that I'm coming into your space, and so I will not come here and do that. And that's one of the reasons I believe when I'm here, people would see me, and I don't even know, I'm in game shopping, and brother, thank you so much. And I'm like, well, whoa, what happened here? What? Oh, okay. But I can't charge you. Well, I got to give you something. That if we're going to do it, that's how we got to do it. We cannot come here and talk about we're running from America to do the same thing that was done to the indigenous population that was already in America 400 or 500 years ago. If we come here with that mentality, we are no different than the people that we are talking trash about. We are absolutely no different, and culture is not an excuse. If somebody tells you, well, I need my culture, I love my Black culture, I love my Geechee culture, I love my DC culture and all of that. But if I'm coming into someone else's space, I can't come here and disrespect them like that. If I'm in Cote d'Ivoire, although I can't stand the French influence, I'm gonna have to learn some French. It is what it is. But it doesn't mean I have to become French in order to do it. And all of that. So what I'm saying is for us, if we're going to be serious about this, then, and some people aren't, but if we're going to be serious about this, respect the people and watch how it's reciprocated. Even if you got to step up there and step in front of them and let them know that I'm a brony, but please don't get it twisted. I still got a little hood in me. So, but even with that, you still maneuver and do what you got to do. So anyway, excited about what's happening here in Ghana. Looking forward to getting to other parts of the continent, but Ghana's going to be the home base for a little while. I'll be back in the DMV after this tour. And because the fam was like, look, now we're gonna give you some space, do what you got to do. However, you got to come back and holler at us. So I'll be going back after this tour is over, and then I'll be back in July. I got a real another smoking hot tour coming. You all can be a part of it. Just go to maximumimpacttravel.com. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm focusing energy on this YouTube concept. That's call it concept. So we're picking up more and more subscribers on a daily basis, and we're going to be dropping more and more content. But yeah. So, and we're going to be having these real conversations. So that's the deal. And nobody, I mean, it is what it is. So if you've watched and you've shared, continue sharing, and I hope to see you guys somewhere on this continent. We're going to be having a great time. So stay tuned for more pictures and videos and all of that on the way. All right. Talk to you soon. Thank you for hanging out with me. Enjoy